Hi there, for today's Read Aloud, we will be reading Oscar and the Moth, a book about light and dark. This is by Jeff Waring. You may or may not have read this in the beginning of the year with Miss Nungesser. If you have already read the story, then go ahead and take a moment and retell the story in your head. Try to think back to everything that happened. And if you have not heard this story, then use the title, Oscar and the Moth, a book about light and dark, and the cover to help you make a prediction. I'll give you some time to do this. All right, are you ready to read the story? Let's go ahead and get started. Oscar and the Moth, a book about light and dark. So in this story, I would really like for you to focus on whether or not this story is a narrative nonfiction. So are you actually learning something from this story? What is the topic? And what is the author's purpose? We'll go over those at the end of the book. So just go ahead and focus on those as we're reading. Oscar and the Moth, a book about light and dark. One summer evening, Oscar lay on the warm back step. Moth was just walking up. "Where does the sun go at night?" Oscar asked her. "It doesn't go anywhere," Moth answered, "but the earth is always turning around. Now it's turning slowly away from the sun." Oscar was surprised. "I'm not turning around," he said. So here is the moth, and here is Oscar. So who's Oscar? He's the cat. And what is he wondering? Where does the sun go? Do you think Moth is going to take a moment throughout this book and explain what happens with the sun and the moon? Maybe. Let's keep reading. "We can't feel it," Moth said, "but we can see it. When our side of the earth turns toward the sun, it gets light. And when it turns away again, it gets dark." So here's the morning, the lunchtime, and the evening. Do you notice the sun? Here it is in the morning. See, at lunchtime it's up high. And then in the evening, it goes to the side. What does the moth mean when she says that we can't feel the earth turning, but we can see it? Do you think this is what the moth means? We can't feel the earth turning, but we can see it. See how the sun is moving? Okay. Oscar sat up. "I'm cold," he said, shivering. "It's because we've turned away from the sun," said Moth. And now we don't have the sun's light or its warmth. That's why it's almost always colder at night than during the day." That makes sense. We don't have the warmth from the sun at night, so that's why it's a little bit colder. Oscar looked up. He could feel the lamp's warm light on his face. "Is the lamp as hot as the sun?" he asked. "No," said Moth. "The sun is our brightest and hottest light." Did you know that the sun is our brightest and hottest light? Thumbs up if you did, and thumbs down if you didn't. Well, if you did, awesome, and if you didn't, well, now you learned something. "Are all lights hot?" Oscar asked. "Not all," said Moth, "but many are." Oscar climbed off the step and looked out at the starry sky. Moth flew down to join him. "You can only see the stars at night," she said. "They are always shining, but you can't see them during the day because of the light from the sun." Did you know that? Give me a thumbs up if you knew that. The stars are always shining, but the reason why we can't see them during the daytime is because the sun is shining. If you didn't know that, did you learn something new? Yes. Here's a little something right here. "Our sun is a star too. It is closer to the earth than other stars are, so its light is much brighter to us than theirs, and it looks very big." I'm going to read that one more time because that's some information that we're learning. Our sun is a star too. It is closer to the earth than the other stars, so its light is much brighter to us than theirs, and it looks very big. So the sun is also a star. but it is closer to the Earth than the other little stars. So what are other things you can see at night that you can't see during the day? Let's take a moment and think. What are some other things you can see at night that you can't see during the day? Give you a moment to think about it. If you're at school, maybe the teacher can pause the video and call in a couple of you to share. If you're at home, maybe you can pause the video and share with somebody or a stuffed animal. All right, let's keep reading. Moth flew toward the street. Without the sun's light, we need other lights to help us, she said. Oscar could see the lights on an airplane, a street light, and a lamp in the window. Do you think if it was daytime, we could see the lights of an airplane that well? Probably not. The street lights, would we see those very well? Would they be as bright during the day as they are at night? No. Same thing with the lamp. If there's a lamp on in the living room as you're going by, you probably wouldn't see it. It wouldn't be as bright. What are those little lights, he asked. They're dancing. What are those little lights that are dancing? Those are fireflies, Moth said. They are beetles that can make their own light. Did you know that? Have you ever seen a firefly? I'm going to give you a moment. Can you spot the airplane in the sky? Look for some lights. Here it is. Try to get out of the way. And she told Oscar about how some living creatures make light in their own bodies. Did you know that? There's Oscar. Male fireflies wait until dusk to fly up and show off to female fireflies by flashing light signals. You see them? Malaysian land snails wake up at night and flash green signals to each other. There's a poisonous millipede found in California that lights up at night to warn other animals not to eat it. The sun's light does not reach far into the sea, and many sea creatures make their own light. How cool is that? If anything tries to eat it, a swordfish squid, it squirts a glowing ink cloud. This dazzles a hungry fish, allowing the squid to escape. Interesting. The rim of a crystal jellyfish glows green when it is disturbed. Do you see that? It's this big one right here. The anglerfish lives in the deep sea. It has a big spine on its head with a tip that glows blue-green. The tip acts as bait to lure other fish when the anglerfish then eats. So this fish right here lights its little light up, and it kind of attracts other fish. This little tiny one. And so it starts to swim towards the light, and then he eats it. I wish I could glow too, Oscar said. Can cats glow? No. Just then, Oscar noticed something swooping around. Look, Moth, there's your shadow, he called. So, swooping. Just in case you didn't know what that word is. Swooping. My body is stopping some of the light from reaching the wall, Moth said. It leaves a dark patch. That's the same shape as me. So is this Moth, or is this Moth's shadow? Shadow. Where's my shadow? Asked Oscar. If you stand up, Moth said, you'll see it. Shadows. Do you see the shadows right here? Okay. Oscar got up. There was an Oscar-shaped shadow on the wall. Give me a thumbs up. Have you ever seen your shadow on a wall? Yeah? If you haven't, go ahead and maybe after the book you can ask your teacher if you're at school to see your shadow. And if you're at home, go ahead and see if you can't find your shadow. Actually, one more thing. How do Oscar and Moth make their shadows on the wall? Well, they're blocking their light. Remember what Moth said? Just then, Oscar noticed something swooping around. Look, Moth, there's your shadow, he called. Right here. My body is stopping some of the light from reaching the wall, Moth said. It leaves a dark patch. That's the same shape as me. That's how they're making their shadows. Oscar laid down again, and so did his shadow. He closed his eyes. The dark behind his eyelids made him feel sleepy. It is nearly morning, he said with a yawn. Not yet, Oscar, said Moth, but Oscar didn't hear her. He was already dreaming about the bright sun, the shining stars, and the deep sea fishes. All right, here's this next page. Okay, here's an index. That's a text feature. Okay, let's see. Thinking about light and dark. Talking with Moth, Oscar found out that, Moth knew all this information about light and dark, and Oscar found out that, I'm going to start reading from right here. Light comes from many different sources, such as the sun, lamps, stars, living creatures. Some lights are brighter than others. Many lights are hot. The sun's heat means that it is usually warmer during the day than at night. Warm, cold. It's a little bit colder at night because we don't have the warmth from the sun, right? What lights can you see around you now? So if the sun is shining, don't look at it directly. It's too bright. So, I have the light on in the classroom. I have the light from the computer screen. And I have the daylight shining through the window. So that's the light around me. So maybe take a moment and think of the light, the lights around you. All right. If you need more time, just pause the video, but let's go right here. And dark. Many lights are easier to see at night, like stars, fireflies. When we don't have the sun's light, we need other lights, like airplane lights, street lights. When something blocks the light, it makes a shadow. Remember Moth and Oscar? The dark can make us feel sleepy. Remember when Oscar started feeling tired and went to sleep? Do you turn off the lights in your bedroom before you go to sleep at night? Thumbs up or down? I do. If you keep a night light on, does it make a shadow? Thumbs up or down? Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the story, Oscar and the Moth, a book about light and dark. I would like for you to take a moment and think, okay, what was the topic of this story? Our topic was about light and dark. Remember, a topic is the person or thing that an informational text is about. So this was about light and dark. That was our thing that we're learning about, okay? Now, was this story a narrative nonfiction? I'll give you a moment to think about it. Was it a narrative nonfiction? Remember, narrative nonfiction gives facts about a topic. Our topic was light and dark. And a narrative nonfiction sounds like a story, but it's nonfiction, meaning you're going to be learning. So thumbs up for yes, it's narrative nonfiction, or thumbs down for no. It is a narrative nonfiction. We were learning real information about light and dark, but it was told in a story-like manner, from Oscar and Moth. And one more thing, take a moment and think of the author's purpose for writing today's story. All right, if you need more time to figure out the author's purpose, go ahead and pause the video. But if you're ready, on the next slide, you'll have the opportunity to talk with a partner if you're at school, and if you're at home, maybe a stuffed animal or a family member, about why you think the author wrote today's story, Oscar and the Moth, a book about light and dark.